If you're an old school guy, you're a feel the deal kind of guy. If you're a newer type manager, if you're new to the business, you're looking at KPIs and numbers, and that's what you're focused on. But the reality is, the best sales managers are the ones that have a good mix of both.
Welcome back to Real Investing, where we talk about real investing for everyday investors. I'm Tim Herriage, and my buddy...
Hey, I'm Ryan Harper.
And my good friend, Bryan Partridge. Bryan, welcome to Dallas. You don't get here often.
I don't make it enough. I'm thrilled to be here, though. I'm happy to be here with you.
You missed it, but I mean, we haven't seen each other in like a little over, 10 years?
It's been since 2014, I believe, the last time when I first met you. And I think it's been since 2015, the last time I saw you.
Yeah,
so
BTR days.
Yeah, you were saying they paid me too much. I was
No,
saying
that's
they
what
didn't
he
pay me
said.
enough. Oh, well. See, the sales guys. They
we both said it. Yeah.
They always think that everybody gets paid too much except for them. So, for the audience, Bryan is the vice president of Originations at Ternus. The first person I called when I decided to start Ternus, he said no when I offered him to join. I called him again about 6 months later, and he said no. And then his company that he was working in the residential mortgage thing ended up folding.
He said, please take me.
And I called him. I called him again, and he said no.
Really?
It wasn't a pride thing, not at all.
I kept saying I wanted him to relocate to Dallas.
Got it.
Yes.
But then after my personal issue with my niece last February, I just realized I had to have maybe less control, because I was trying to build an only in-person, only in Dallas, centralized control mortgage company. Mm-hmm. And so it was mid-February. I called Bryan and I was like, what's it take? Instead of making an offer, I asked him to consider telling me how, which is actually a superpower of mine. I don't take no very easily.
Can I point something out?
Yeah.
I think that single decision, though, obviously multiple decisions, if you would have stuck to your guns and had an in-house Dallas operation, guess what you would have? You would have a Dallas regional operation. By having somebody or having the mindset to be in Charlotte, be wherever, now you have a national, potentially international operation.
It goes even further than that. So actually,
The moon?
by opening that open, it opened me to more talent.
Yeah.
And the talent in Charlotte, which is now where 90% of our company is, most of which they've all worked together before.
That was probably
This is going to sound awful, and anybody from my company is going to hate the way I say it. Talent is on sale right now as opposed to when the residential mortgage market is on fire.
Yeah.
We were interviewing salespeople this week that are used to closing 50, 60, 70 loans a month. High power people that right now, they're lucky if they have a 15, 20 loan month, would be lucky.
That would probably be your top guy right now, the guys that are closing 15 to 20. Now, keep in mind, when the market goes sour, in our business, it creates opportunities for us, like you just mentioned. So what we're able to do now is because we're in Charlotte, which I consider to be probably the highest IQ area in the country, maybe outside of New York, for real estate finance people, we now can somewhat pick and choose who we want into the organization, which allows us to be a little bit picky, but it gives us more opportunity to really kind of cast a little bit wider net, kind of see what we get. As a startup, really a one-year-old organization, we still have to prove what we've got for these people coming in the door, that they can, in fact, make money, that they can live a lifestyle they want to live. But it gives us, in this market, which is going to be rough for a while, it gives us, at least not our side, on the residential side of the business, it's a little rough right now, it gives us more opportunity to get really who we want. And based upon who we bring in, it opens up a layer of other doors, and it gives us more clout.
What I'm finding is it's an industry that is very big but very small at the same time. And Bryan, the reason so obviously we worked together 10 years ago at B2R, but the thing is about him, and I want to get to this because I think this will help the audience. we were talking with a previous guest about believing in your offer and selling your offer. You can't, in the mortgage sales business or really any phone sales business, you can't have people that blindly sell specifically new products, and aren't willing to push back. Because oftentimes when you're starting a new company with a new product, there may be some decisions you make that have unintended consequences. And you need your frontline warriors, your salespeople, to come back and say, no, this is wrong. Like, the customers don't like this. We're doing it wrong. And you have to listen and then find a way to fix it. And with his skill set, he's got this perfect balance of hearing the guys and gals out, telling them too bad, but then also turning around and saying, hey, look, man, like, I got your back, but shit ain't right. Like,
Well, real quick though, not to toot your horn, dude, 15 years ago, Tim Herriage, I don't know if you had that capability of listening.
oh, I wouldn't have.
Well, no, you didn't. And quite, and listen, I'm going to take this back, 11 years back to B2R Finance, and I'm going to toot our horn again.
Yeah.
Because that 30-year DSCR loan that is now available to everybody in the marketplace across the United States didn't exist. And when we started there, it was a clunky, old man type of, stodgy New York finance loan, let's call it what it is. And it wasn't competitive, and it was only available for people that had a lot of money, and it was confusing and scary. And so what we did is we said, we've got to bring this down to a Main Street level where people can understand what the hell this is. Because if we don't make it simple, nobody's going to buy it, first and foremost. But then we thought about who do we want to bring into the business? And by bringing this down to Main Street, we had to make it more palatable for people that typically don't operate in an investment type mindset or in that space. So we pushed like hell to make this a 30-year loan, because we said if this gets to a 30-year loan, people will understand that and understand that this is not terribly risky. I don't have to be out in 3 or 5 years on a balloon. I don't have to worry about losing all my properties that I just acquired. I can hold on to this and create wealth long-term for my family and create a legacy, right? So it's that's kind of what we're employing now, is that we're looking at the product, and weekly we're discussing the products and making sure that they fit exactly what we need, and with our audience and our customer in mind. Because if it ain't saleable, we ain't gonna sell it.
Well,
so,
also, if I remember correctly, and again, I wasn't in the mix. I was very, very, very outside of the door. But like, if I remember correctly, when y'all had B2R days, you had your vision of hey, let's bring Main Street to let's bring Wall Street to Main Street. Let's get products for the people. But if I remember correctly, the higher ups were way more interested in these giant packaged loans versus like the everyday investor. So like, they're saying one thing, but they're only doing this.
When we started this, the vision was, in all startups, like, you have to prove your concept. So we didn't know if there was a market, not from the customer, but more for the capital market. I say it all the time on the show, everyone gets their money from somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. Even Blackstone, if they've got $100 million, it's not their money. It came from an insurance company or a securitization or a bank or something. Like, it's not their money. And so you have to like know that you can finance what you offer. Like, so if I do $10 million worth of loans this month, I have to get a loan from a bank somewhere against that 10 million, or I have to sell that 10 million so that I can keep funding my business. So at Blackstone, it started out like with it was like a $10 million loan limit, and then it went down to a $5 million, then it went down to $1 million, then it went down to $500,000, then it went down to $300,000, then it went down to $250, then back to $500. It was a moving target. But actually, one of the more fun stories, we're in Charlotte one night, and this is probably 2014, and Jeff Tennyson, who was the COO at the time, and I think Bryan was in his office with him, was on the phone reviewing loan docs with someone at it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And he's got his sleeves rolled up, and you were sitting in the office.
We're burning the midnight oil back in those days, yeah.
And I remember I was standing there, I was like, what the hell is this about? And I'd never looked at the loan docs because, I'm not a detail guy. And anyway.
He's a big picture guy.
Yeah, the next day we start going through them, and it's like all this cooperation agreement and weird shit. So I took a copy of the loan docs, and they were that thick. And I went to Hudson Henley. Remember, you know Hudson? And he had a portfolio he was doing with us at the time, and he's done now some with us at Ternus. And I go, hey, Hudson, I want you to bill me for this as a real estate attorney, because he owned all the title companies at the time, and as a borrower, and mark this up. I need a red line of red lines. And he did it, and then I flew him, like this was actually a stack of paper. I flew him back to Charlotte, and I sat down with John Beecham, the president at the time, and the guys from Sidley Austin, our law firm that sometimes we were paying $1 million a month for like securitization work. And we went page by page of what Hudson said we needed. And it was more than half of them, they said, yeah, fine. And it was like literally one of those small victories. It seems nobody out there even understands, but it laid the groundwork to create what is now 75% of the volume in the business.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible when we think about that product, which was not even remotely palatable, became what is arguably the hottest product now in the residential investment lending space.
Yeah.
And it's syndicated, and everybody has it.
Yeah, and it's even in residential deals. So,
Yeah.
Bryan, a lot of the listeners struggle with sales. And they struggle with sales because they think they're the only one that can sell their product. And I'm a cocky investor too. And there's times that I'm like, oh, you know what? I'll get on the phone and start selling too.
Yeah, never heard you say that.
Yeah. Not this week at least,
Yeah,
right?
this week, that's right.
And it's what every entrepreneur struggles with.
Yeah.
It's, I need more sales. I need more volume. I'll just do it myself. And the problem is once you do that, you can never put the genie back on the bottle. And if you do have a sales team, you tell them, you show them you don't believe in them. If you have sales leadership, you show them that you don't believe in them. But also, now anytime anybody needs any help at all with a customer on the phone on a sales side, guess who gets pulled into it? And now how the hell am I a CEO of a 50-person company if I'm always on the phone with a customer that wants to talk for 45 minutes and is never going to do a loan? I actually introduced someone to Miles today, and I said, it was from Josh High at Results Driven. I was like, hey, you want to talk to Miles? Because, dude, I'm the CEO, and the odds are I'm going to be wrong anyway. Right? But managing a phone sales team, before we started, you were talking about after COVID, you went from 50, 60 sales people you were managing in office to 100%. Well, first, like, I think we're going to be closed forever. 2 weeks, don't go home, and we're not going to work. And then all of a sudden,
I think you missed a step of, I think we're all going to die. I think that was step one.
yeah.
Right.
Zombie apocalypse.
First you're going to die.
We don't have a job.
Right.
Download Zoom.
Yeah.
It was a 3-day cycle, right? Like, how has it been as a 25-year veteran in the industry morphing from 100% in-person, cracking the whip in the sales pit to managing over Zoom to now managing a hybrid environment where you only get to see your people a couple days a week?
Well, I'll say this. You know, I think that, and I'm a big believer in, and I spent my entire career in the office, right? So, I mean, I think I've got the chops to say I've managed at a high level. I produced at a high level as a salesperson.
20 of 25 years was in an office.
Was in an office, yeah. It takes finesse now, right? I think that's the key is you have to have patience and finesse with these people. And listen, I mean, the reality is the world has changed. Going 5 days a week in the office is very tough. It's very tough to keep people on board that you want. And I think the competitive advantage is those organizations like ours that have the ability to work hybrid. Now, with that being said, you know, the way you have to manage is a lot different. You have to get a little bit more granular with the activity. You have to be able to look at calls, number of leads taken, time spent. You really have to dig into the details a lot more to get both a feel of the deal type of a management approach and also an activity-based type of approach, and meld those two together. And that's a challenging thing to do because if you're an old school guy, you're a feel the deal kind of guy. If you're a newer type manager, if you're new to the business, you're looking at KPIs and numbers, and that's what you're focused on. But the reality is the best sales managers are the ones that have a good mix of both. And you have to be patient. You have to give people the benefit of the doubt. They're going to go to their kid's soccer game. They're going to go to a football game. They're going to need to travel. Unexpected things happen. We had one of my guys today, his battery on his car is down. I'm like, well, I guess we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
You know, the point is, you know, you need to understand everybody has a life, but you need to push where you can push. And the reality is, in this industry at least, I've always felt that real estate is a lifestyle. It's not just a job. If it requires Saturday, you work on a Saturday a little bit. If it takes a Friday night to close a deal, guess what? That's your money. You need to go get that money. So
one thing that I would ask is, like, I hear that, but in the KPIs, the SOPs,
yeah.
the y'all's industry is so, I mean, it's been around forever, but because when you go from in office to now you're going to hybrid more, like, who's writing those SOPs? Is that coming from Tim, or is that coming from you at your level?
I mean, that's coming from me, and it's really a needs-based type of monitoring. I mean, we have to be able to understand, given the type of data that we have, how can we best use that? I think that Tim has his ideas of what he likes, and we'll agree on things, and we'll certainly disagree on things, and that's a healthy thing, right? Tim's got a 10,000-foot view, and I'm on the ground level, right? I'm like boots on the ground. So Tim's assessment is oftentimes correct that we need more loans. We need to be able to have better penetration into a market. We need a better conversion. But the reality is, he may not always be looking at what I'm looking, which is the personality piece associated with the KPIs and how people work. Because not everybody works the same, right? I mean, you can't manage everybody identically. That doesn't work, and everybody knows that.
Right.
My assessment may be correct, but oftentimes my approach is completely wrong.
Right.
Right? I mean, because it's not just the personalities, it's the culture. And I think any good sales team starts with the culture that you want to have.
100%.
Is a lot of the big part of our talk when we got started. And I think one of the reasons you wanted to build it in Charlotte was that you felt like you were going to be able to build the culture you wanted. And, you know, that's a culture of, it's definitely not a Marine Corps culture of, I say go, you go until I say stop. And unless you're going to die or you're going to kill someone else on accident, I don't want to hear from you. His is more of a very active feedback loop because he's constantly training on rebuttals, on solving asset issues, on solving maybe licensing issues, on solving communication issues. This person's only texting, but I actually need to talk to them, or they weren't able to DocuSign it. They filled it out wrong. Like, and how would you handle this? How would you handle this? There's a lot of that I see that I just frankly don't have the patience for. And I bark more new loans. But I will say this, like, I think there's a lot of investors out there that start out as the guy or gal in the kitchen buying the contract or buying the house, and then they morph to the person that has acquisitions or dispositions people, and then they morph to where they have an acquisitions manager that has acquisitions or dispositions people. And that's the person I think we need to talk to right now is once you have that acquisitions manager, if you're trying to tell them how to do their job every day, you hire the wrong person,
Right.
or you're still the wrong person.
Yep.
I say a lot of times a week to him, this is what I think, but I'll defer to you. And it's not placating him. It's
a sign of respect. I mean, you feel that I would hope that you feel that I have an
your
intuition.
expertise.
That's what I do. This is what I've done my
It's your
entire
expertise.
career. I have an intuition that you may not have, right? I'm seeing this from a different set of lenses than you are, right?
What is it you're saying about the client or the talent?
Oh, talent's never listen to talent.
Never listen to talent. He has it like on the wall in his studio.
I took it down.
Yeah.
I used to.
But I love that because I come in with all these ideas and he nods and then he does his idea. And obviously it's more of a vendor. No, it's more of a vendor.
It's like, oh, the guy puts on the show.
We've known each other for 20 years, though. It's a little different.
There's still a collaboration effort, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's things like if if his feet were still up, I would have kicked his feet. But but I let him have his feet up.
I
for a
went to
little
talk
bit.
in, and if you're not watching the video,
Yeah.
I kind of got a little comfortable. I've been sitting here and I put my feet up.
If he would have left him on there a bit longer, I was going to a little gently nudge him because it's just not a good look. But it's interesting, this conversation, because like and it's so annoying from a leadership standpoint and from a human resources standpoint that this matters. But like even that conversation of, I have my opinion, but I defer to you. Like I've had to learn, because the way I used to say that was, I don't care. Which in a creative world, it's like, I don't care. But what I was really saying was, I defer to your creativity.
Yes.
But what my former employees would hear, not all of them, like Paul's never felt hopefully doesn't feel this way, but a former employee would hear me like, it's really hard to work at a company for a client that doesn't care and a boss that doesn't care. I was like, doesn't care? I literally, this is the only time I've ever said, and I was not kidding, and I'm ashamed that I said this, that I was triggered. Like I literally was like, this triggers me right now, because how dare you say that I don't care when I'm working 7-8 days a week, 30 hours a day. But again, though, to his point, he heard, I don't care. I was like, how dare you say I don't care? Obviously I care, but what I meant to say was I defer to your creativity.
I want to pull back the curtain a little bit because I want to say something that I think Tim will really appreciate. I've known you for a while, man, and I've worked with you in some high stress environments, P2R being one of those, right? I mean, like, this is hedge fund money. It has to work. Like, and this is your money now, and this has to work in this environment. But what I have seen is like a level of growth out of Tim, where Tim has allowed the people that we've brought in to do exactly what they do because they're the best people I know how to do this, and gives them the latitude and offers them the latitude, and has matured. We've all matured, right? But to a level where Tim is like, I don't want to get away. I may mess this up.
So what I'm hearing right now
it's
is
amazing.
You clearly don't watch the podcast.
I do watch it.
Because he says every other episode how he's so proud of the fact that people he brings in is smarter than him.
Well, so we had a meeting yesterday morning in Charlotte about assets and experience with regards to how we measure them in our underwriting guidelines, because we're unique. We're a direct balance sheet lender, and what that means is it's our money. We write our own underwriting guidelines. There is no bank or Wall Street hedge fund telling us what to do. So when it comes to these loans, I am the judge, jury, and executioner. If I say yes, that loan is approved. If I say no, it is denied. And oftentimes, if I'm moody or low on money, I may be very unflexible. Oftentimes, if I'm flush on cash or in a great mood or too busy to pay attention, I may be like, yeah, sure, that'll work. Well, then what happens is the next week, everyone's got mixed signals. And I'm at dinner with Robert Greenberg, and he's like, dude, on Deal Desk last week, you said no to one guy's file, and then the next week you said yes to the same damn thing. And, you know, this guy over here is thinking you don't like him, and this guy over here is thinking you like him, or you're saying because you knew the borrower, and like, it's really inconsistent. I'm like, yeah,
I beat you. I could beat you on this conversation. Literally on Friday or Saturday, I told Paul, like, hey, don't come in on Monday because I may need you to work Saturday. Monday meeting, and this is all very real. Monday meeting, there's no Paul, and I'm like, where's Paul? And they're like, well, we don't know, maybe he's coming in late. So when Paul came in, he came in on Monday, just like, you know, in his workout gear, just because he's a good worker. I'm like, hey, come in my office. And I reamed him out at my level, which is like, dude, you're like my VP. I can't have you coming in late on a Monday. He's like, what are you talking about? You told me not to come in at all. And I'm like, oh yeah, my bad. Yeah. And I was like, I'm a fucking idiot. I felt so shitty, but it's so true. But it's like, but again, though, it's like you're just like text message thing, and you're like, but it's giving mixed signals of like.
But here's where I was going with this. So at this table, we're at this long conference table, and Robert's over here, Brian's here, Lacey's here, I'm here. And so it's basically you got head of ops, head of sales, and head of strategy, et cetera. And a lot of the dialogue is in between Lacey, Brian, Lacey, Robert, Robert, Brian, et cetera. That little triangle down here. And at times, I almost felt like I had to jump in, because I'm kind of like dad at the end of the table. And Robert gets really coarse, even though he doesn't mean it. He's just blunt and matter of fact.
Yeah.
And then Lacey would get a little defensive or be really right and he was really wrong. But I just love that we've evolved as a leadership team now,
That you can allow that.
that they know how to deal with each other, and like they don't, no feelings got hurt. There were a couple times
Yeah.
I got a little tense
Spirited.
or whatever, spirited.
Very spirited,
And then he sits there.
but constructive.
Sometimes
right?
when he knows what he wants, he waits to be the last one to talk.
Yeah, dude.
And he kind of lets everybody get it out, and then he's like, "So here's what I think." And it works though, dude. And but anyway, we worked through a lot of issues yesterday morning in an hour on inconsistency on files, on maybe different ways we should look at it. And then he's able to go tell his team, this is the new rule.
Yeah.
You can confidently sell this. And if there's any changes by that asshole over there, I'll back your play.
You being an asshole?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and what we're doing is hard, right? And it's a moving target. And the thing is, we exist to be different, and being different is the hardest thing you can do because it's easy to fall in line and sell what everybody else is selling. That would be no fun, first and foremost. Two, that would be no challenge. And the reality is, we're trying to be the disruptor, right? So we're like Tim always says, why do we have to do it this way? Why can't we do it this way? Well, if we can find a market for it and we can find investors for it and the loans perform and we can aggregate enough of it together, then we can do it that way. And that's what we're doing is we're breaking the mold.
One of the lessons,
And that requires frank discussion, no feelings sometimes, getting it out there, thinking holistically about who we're benefiting here. We're trying to benefit the customer as well as Ternus. And that's a knife's edge discussion, right?
one of the lessons I've had to learn, and I still struggle with it, is there's things that I'm good at and there's things that I think are easy, but nothing's ever easy. And you should stop saying anything is easy, because if I say, hey, put on events easy, it's like, no, it's not. It's just you've got all this experience and it just comes together. But if you say something's easy, the client thinks it's easy. It's like, no, nothing's ever easy.
Yeah.
So even like right now, it's hard, but like in a year or 6 months or whatever, that process should be easy, but it's not.
Well,
it's still hard.
And I think the biggest lesson I've learned in the last year of running Ternus is some people, my wife included, will say that I overshare. And I probably do overshare outside of our circle, and I'm going to work on that.
I'm the same way.
And Bryan told me in October in our offsite that he was about sick and tired of me coming over the top, which means emailing his sales team or emailing the entire company without talking to the leadership team first. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better at that. The last couple of weeks I've had some lapses, but I'm aware of it and I'm working on it. But it's the best thing I've done in the last year is I'm really transparent with the leadership team. And then I let them translate that into what their people need to hear. So for instance, if I decide to do a 100% financing on a house in Colorado that is 70 LTV and no in-person inspection, but I've got an ARV AMC appraisal. I know that was a lot of Greek, but just roll with me. I may decide that because I may think that this one note buyer that we do business with will buy it. But I don't have time to make them get all the paperwork, get it all packaged up, send it to them, and then they say no, and I got to go tell the customer, well, never mind. We wasted your time for 2 weeks. So I have to guess. And I have to say, yeah, Bryan, he brings it to me. He's like, this is what I think. I told the guys to hold off, but this is what I think. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I can sell that. Go ahead and get the application. So that's $250,000. We package it up. We get it ready to close. We send it to the note buyer. They're like, nah, we're good. We didn't get our in-person inspection, and we didn't really want to do that in Colorado right now. Good to go. Does that mean I tell that borrower never mind and screw up their entire real estate deal? No. It means that I call Jennifer. You remember Jennifer. And I say, hey, babe, guess what?
We just bought a
Got a house in Colorado
We're
now.
borrowing $250,000 today. And she tells me I don't get dinner. I mean, like, and that's just the reality of we are still a small entrepreneurial business with a single ownership structure.
But that goes back to your philosophy from.
Well, hang on, let me finish this up real quick. The bottom line is once that note buyer says no, I'm going to text Bryan and be like, hey, no more of them Colorado deals. And now he's got to tell his sales team. And it feels really inconsistent to them.
Yeah.
And but he's got my back. He goes in their sales meeting, reminds them, Tim's testing the waters, Tim's testing the fences. Because I'm going to take that closed loan and I'm going to start shopping it to other people. And I'm going to find a buyer for it, or I'm going to find the way I need to change it next time where we do have a buyer. And I had to take Ohio out of production for a couple weeks.
Man, yeah.
But I went and worked on it and came back and gave it back to them. So that's the whole thing is, well, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted to finish.
I was interrupting you, but what I was saying was like, ever since I've known you, gotten in the real estate world, is like, you've always had that commitment of closing what you sign, you know? And I think at least in the last 7 years or 5 years ago, at least, it seemed like that was not common at all. Like people are like, just will ink up contracts and then like, oh, I can't close. And you've always been committed to closing no matter what.
In the tens of thousands of deals that I've committed to in the last 23 years, there's only been one that I ever signed my name on I didn't close. And it was exactly 5 years ago next month when COVID happened. And part of that was because in 2008 and 7, when the market started getting yanked out from underneath me, I did not listen to my mentors and I kept going strong. And it cost me and Jennifer millions of dollars and almost cost us our marriage. And the scars of that, like people that didn't live through that, like COVID was nothing. Like 07 and 08, it was bad. Like I don't know many people that were married in the real estate investment business that are still married. Like it wrecked homes, it wrecked families, it was bad. And I say that because when the COVID thing happened and they're locking us down and they're like, nobody else gets to go to work and you need to be essential personnel and all this weird crap. I had a closing the next week. And you may remember her name, Donna McDonald, a realtor that used to send me, I bought 5, 6, 7 deals a year from her. And I called her and I said, Donna, I am not closing next week. If you want to get me an extension for a couple weeks, they say we're going to we don't get to leave our house for 2 weeks. I don't know. I don't even know if my contractor's allowed to go work over there. I mean, essential workers, remember they were telling us we had to get like pieces of paper and like give authorization letters.
Like the day before. It was like
Wild. It was wild.
So I called her. I said, look, here's the deal. I really need an extension until like April 1st. Let me figure this out. But what I'd really like is if your customer, I think I had like $5,000 or $7,000 earnest money up. I said, what I'd really like would be if your customer would just accept the termination and the earnest money. And she was like, let me call them and I'll call you back. And they wanted the $7,000 and I released it, gave them the earnest money. Probably cost me $80,000 to $100,000 because the way property in that area went over the next, because we were going to keep it as a rental.
Yeah.
But that's the only one. That's the only time
you had 7,000 earnest money. Most people are just like sign it with their $20.
It still bothers me to this day because I mean, look, I had a 20-year perfect streak. I mean, and it was like a very badge of honor that I wore. Right. That I don't sign my name to contracts I don't fulfill. But anyway, I do approach it the same way at Ternus. Like if I say yes, come hell or high water, that loan is funded.
So, but on that note though, because like I struggle with sometimes too, like we have a small team and like I've had to learn that like, hey, you have to give briefings. Like I have to write it out. This is why we're doing this thing. Because like I have this new project called the Deal Table. If I can talk about it for a couple of seconds. Like we film in Old Parkland. Old Parkland is like the Illuminati level money here in Dallas. It is ridiculous. It's the old hospital where Kennedy was taken after he was shot.
Wow.
It's been Crow Holdings. If you're familiar with Trammell Crow, giant real estate. It's their campus, and it's like the most exclusive commercial real estate in Dallas. And we get to film our podcast there, and we're connecting with super high level people. And I'm very gracious that we have that opportunity. All that to be said, I'm using that as kind of like a flagship poster of what we do.
Yeah.
It's basically the same thing we do with Tim, but we're trying to push it out to a different class of people, a different level of people, family offices, private equity, etc. All my team hears is, man, Ryan wants to do another marketing project. Shouldn't we service Tim? Shouldn't we service this other thing? Shouldn't we service paying clients? And it's just like, first of all, you shouldn't be thinking like that. I said, do the thing. But it's because I didn't give them the proper vision and I didn't give them the proper, like, hey, this is why we're doing this. And this is why I keep pushing on this, because this is the vision. This is the direction I want to take the company. Now, if I would have taken 5, 10, 20 minutes and just like written it out and said, hey guys, this is my vision for this project. This is why we're doing it. Now I can whiteboard it all day, but until I write it down that they can reference later, so I've had to learn I need to pause and brief people more than just bowling to try and
I agree with that. I mean, we have the best of intentions of doing that all the time. The reality is we move so fast, and we're growing quickly, and we're learning every single day that I don't know that it's necessarily that easy to sit down and have a discussion where you can have a planning meeting every day and this is what we plan to do. And this is where we're going. And the reality is, there's a call in my calendar this morning for 10 a.m. We're going to discuss something. All right, it's like that.
I guarantee you, Tim has the same in his head that I have. Is Bryan, why aren't you reading my brain right now?
Well,
and it's hard to get over that.
I don't anymore because I've had to surrender control.
Yeah.
And it's a very humbling experience. When we were at the boardroom in Seattle, I think.
Yeah.
Bryan said to the hot seat people, he goes, it's our job to manage up, which kind of makes you feel like a child for a second as the CEO, like the boss. But I really do feel managed up so much that actually I think the most that happens in the company every week is on Thursday when the leadership meeting is that I'm not invited to.
It's a meeting we get to talk about Tim indirectly, but help us prepare for Tim so that we can inform him, but also
it's alignment.
It has to happen without him, or we can't work well if we don't get away from Tim sometimes. Right?
I will
in the
say,
nicest way possible.
When we had a bigger team, we would have those, and I also like, what are they saying about me?
I know he wants to jump on that call. Wrong call.
So in all honesty, it happened. I requested that they do it because I very much look at the leadership team as the U.S. Senate, and I'm the vice president in this example. If I've got 3 or 4 people, we're at 3 right now. We'll be at 4 soon. Not counting me, and there's a majority decision made at that level. Robert's got 40 years experience. Bryan and Lacey both have 25 years experience, and it's in their core roles. So if you think about it, that's almost 100 years experience. I've been doing this for 23 years, but I've really only been in lending for 10.
Yeah.
I would be an idiot. Actually, I'd be an arrogant idiot if I did not go.
I knew that, Tim.
And I was that. If I didn't go with their majority decision. Unless there's something I haven't shared with them that should have influenced that decision, and then it's my fault. And then I have to, instead of disagreeing with them, I have to say, now look, I understand why you came to that conclusion. I need to introduce this other issue.
It's what I was referring to.
And see if you would still make the same decision.
Yeah, it's what I was saying earlier about like, hey, I didn't share the entire board with you.
Yeah, no, and it's listen. I very much appreciate the wide berth you offer us, and I think again at the end of the day, this is the right way to do things. Right? We have to be able to. You brought in subject matter experts. We're there to impart our wisdom upon this organization for growth and experience and everything that goes with building a business, right? And not allowing us to help do that, and you come over the top would be malpractice, right?
And I think, Brian, that's what limits our customers too, is they can't let go.
Yeah.
They can't let go of, I'm the buyer, I'm the salesperson, I'm the general contractor, I'm the videographer, I'm the what. Like, I think all entrepreneurs are limited that way. And because I'm not a corporate guy.
And
it's hard to let go, specifically when it's your baby, when it's your vision, when it's your like you've got everything on the line. As an entrepreneur, oftentimes the greatest success that I've learned comes from getting out of the way of the people you hired to do what you hired them to do.
Well, I think on this point though, is like, it's something that I need to do. And this is why I was talking about raising capital before, is like, because we're a small shop, I can't do the role that I was born to do. The role that I was born to do was to be the cheerleader like you're doing and be the connector like you're doing. So, God, I got to be fucking Tim Herriage. Seriously, because I mean, let's be honest. Like,
what would Tim Herriage do?
Well, don't.
I'm sorry, man.
I know. Literally, it's there. We'll have bracelets tomorrow. But it's just like, to grow a business, your leader needs to be leading, but also needs to be the cheerleader, needs to be the pep guy, needs to be the glad handing person.
But also,
you got to have the team in place to allow for that.
But part of it is empowerment. And I'm going to tell you what happened last night. Last night around 4:30 Eastern time, we went to look at the new office that we're moving into March 1st in Charlotte. We had the whole company there minus 3 or 4 people. And it was very nice of them. Jennifer was with me, so we were late. They were calling and texting me, like, are you coming? And they were all waiting outside in the cold, waiting for me to get there. As like a courtesy thing, and they didn't have to do that. But we all went up and we got to show them the new office, and it's a really nice office, and there's a big community center, and there's a gym, and there's a golf simulator. Mm-hmm. It is a large investment. And we also rolled out our new benefits yesterday, and it is a large investment. I mean, like, I'm providing like free life insurance, vision, dental, 401k contributions. I really care about having a good culture. Mm-hmm. I want people to love Ternus, not only as a customer, but as a teammate. And afterwards, I would have loved nothing more than to hang out with everyone at the bar and like buy them drinks and stuff. But instead, I said, you guys have a great night. I gave the sales guys a little bit of shit about we need to do some more loans. And I held Jennifer's hand and walked away. And they all went to a happy hour, and I didn't get to go. But it's okay, because that's not my role anymore.
Right.
The dinner I need to go to is with him and Lacey and Robert, and I can't be everyone's friend, and I have to let go of that so that they have the real relationships with their people, not with me.
Well, to that point, like right now, I go to a shit ton of events.
Yeah.
But the events I go to are the SMU things, the Crow Holdings things, the Old Parkling, the family office things. Yeah. And because that's where I'm trying to go fishing for our company. It's not so I'm not in the trenches over here anymore. You came up earlier. I was sweating my ass off.
Yeah.
I still will pick up a hammer if I need to, but like the role of leader is to be business focused outside, going out hunting. It's not at the half hour having a drink with your boys.
Well, we're raising capital right now, right? We've got the Reg CF going out and raising $5 million there, and then we're going to go raise some other equity and some other credit lines, and a couple of years from now, who knows? We may do a big offering, but that's got to be my job now, and also, I just can't say it enough. And Brian, I don't feel like I'm letting you talk enough.
No, I mean, I can certainly butt in, but I'm just used to listening, and I'm happy to.
Brian told me it was very important to build a culture, and I heard him, and I'm trying to be a good boy and stay out of the way,
right?
Which is hard.
It is hard, and listen, man. I mean, like, we're all maturing as professionals, and it's hard to believe that in my late 40s, I feel like I'm not only at my apex peak of where I'm at, but I still have room to run, right? And I'm growing every day as a professional. I continue to learn, continue to make myself vulnerable. I think you do as well. Lacey does well. We're all putting our ass out there every day, because it matters the quality of this organization and what we do. And it matters that our people believe in the leadership behind what we do. And again, I wouldn't have it any other way. If it was any other way, I wouldn't do this with you, right?
Well, now he's bringing on a sales manager.
I got a sales manager. We're at the point where there's too many responsibilities that I'm giving my guys all my time I can, but I'm straddling the fence so hard with corporate responsibilities that I got to have somebody that was gonna believe and think the way we do. That's gonna continue to impart the vision.
And then he's got to give them some of this raw shit too. Now.
Dude, I'm the biggest cheerleader in the organization, man.
So here's the question I should have asked 30 minutes ago. What do you do? What's your role now?
I've VP.
Like, I don't mean that pejorative. I mean, like, seriously, like, I thought you were the sales guy.
I am the biggest sales guy.
He's a vice president of Originations, so every salesperson at Ternus works for him.
Okay. So as you grow, you could have multiple sales channels, or you would have like a sales director and they would have multiple sales channels.
That's the goal. It's that we're going to have multiple lines, and that ultimately I would hope to run all those lines and have folks that share that same vision and that same passion.
So the org chart would be like, you got the Tim, and then you've got VP of Originations. Where is Greenberg?
He's strategy, which so he's going to run like technology and marketing.
Okay, so what are the verticals? Like, what are the
So you've got revenue, which is Bryan, operations, which is Lacey, finance / legal / HR, which is going to be the CFO, and then you've got strategy, which is going to be marketing and technology.
Okay, and then everything.
If you really think about that's kind of platform, if you will. It's like it's our infrastructure and platform.
And eventually you may have a CTO or something.
No, I don't think so. I think that'll be Robert's department.
Okay.
He was CMO and CTO at Patch, and I mean we'll put people underneath him.
Right.
And Bryan will end up heading up all the revenue because we're going to add insurance. We're going to add other channels. We're going to add second liens. We're going to add lines of credit.
Maybe title. I mean, you haven't even figured out exactly what we want it to be, but we know that it needs to be all inclusive, all encompassing.
Your role is the fact that, like, as your organization grows, like, your department or departments will grow. Like, because marketing, yes, grows, but I don't see it growing at the size of like where the origination role would have to be. So that's pretty cool.
So think about this though. We did the Seattle boardroom, was the first one he'd ever done. Mm-hmm. And he comes up to me after, he's like, man, that may have been the hardest thing I've ever done in my career. Because he had to be vulnerable and stand in front of this group of
I was sweating.
Absolute killers.
Literally. Yeah.
And answer questions, and they're throwing bullets at you. Like, that's this group. And yeah.
And there's several $100 million worth of people in that room that are successful. And I'm like,
and so Robert's job,
am I supposed to be here?
Yeah, Robert's job is going to be to create and maintain the technology that it takes to run the business, but also generate the leads that it takes to create revenue. And then everything under Bryan is going to be anything that touches a customer, from the point that we touch them to try to make money off them, or with them, I should say, will fall under his purview. And so think about how much he has to understand the customer and not how to sell to him. Because if you're always worried about how to sell your product, you're missing the mark. I mean,
it's how we partner with them. It's how we partner with them. I know exactly.
Why don't you talk about this customer and what it takes to understand how to convert them from a prospect or lead into a customer? A client, I should say.
I mean, this customer is gritty at the core, right? These are individuals that enter this industry because they want to better themselves, right? This is the differential between a customer that is borrowing money to pay off debt and get themselves a mortgage that their family can live in, which is a very noble calling. There's nothing wrong with residential lending. And the customer that is a investment-based customer, they're willingly choosing to enter this realm, and they're betting on themselves. And we have to understand that and be empathetic about that, and know that when we speak to these folks, everything we do must be in their best interests. So by having, I'm going to skip ahead just a tad, but by having different layers and different things we can offer. We can keep it all in-house. One, it's good for our organization, but it's good for the customer because the customer doesn't have to hunt and peck and find places to go and find insurance and find title, because it's not just about the guy that has 200 homes, which we love to work with them. It's about the guy that's newer to the business that says, man, I really think I could do this. I want to be part of this. It's about us putting our arms around them and saying, you know what, you can do this. We're going to help you do this, and we're going to partner with you to do this, and we're going to do everything we can so that you're successful, and your success is our success. And that's how I envision it. It's a partnership, and it's treating people at the core good and giving them the opportunity to succeed. And that, to me, is, I can go to bed, I sleep well at night, because that's what I believe as a person. And that's what we're going to do as an organization. And that is going to be what makes Ternus successful, because we're not out there like sharks trying to take chunks off people. We're trying to get people into the boat and get them to the shore so we can help them grow their business. So it's just a different mentality. And that's one thing I've always believed. And that's why I partner with Tim. That's why I'm part of this organization, because this is something I wake up every day going, the hardest thing I've ever done, the most challenging thing I've ever done, the funnest thing I've ever done is this. And we can build it the way we want to do it. And we're going to do it like that. So
I think it's a great end stamp to this chat.
Yeah.
It was great. I mean, I don't know if we could have said, hey, final thoughts. I think that was a great ending.
that's who I am to the core. And that's,
and here's the cool thing. I will end with this. We are hiring.
yes.
And if you want to work with this guy, like, call us. You don't have to have experience as a loan officer. Obviously, it's great if you do, but and we'll be hiring 1, 2, 3 loan officers, account executives a month. If you're out there and you think, you know, hey, I want to work with this company. I mean, if you're in the insurance business, you want to help us get it started, come on. I mean, honestly, I think we've got a employee reward thing. Like, if you refer someone we hire, and I even said on the monthly meeting last month, I said, even if it's not a job you've heard me talk about, if you know someone that would be a great fit with our company and our culture, refer them to your boss and say,
Yeah.
this guy, Ryan, would be a great business development guy. And let's have the talk. And because we're always hiring good people.
always.
But you just saying refer them to your boss is so much growth than saying refer them to me. Congratulations.
Thank
You know?
you. If you're out there and you're listening and you're thinking, I want to grow my company, you can never grow your company till you grow yourself.
yeah.
And you have to hire people that are willing to tell you, go after yourself.
But also to that point, because one of the fear things, I know I just said we would end it, but like the fear thing I've always had was not holding people accountable enough for the fear that they may leave. And the reality is, if people are going to leave, they're going to leave. And you can't hold on to people that. So you have to be accountable, and you have to be tough love when you need to get a tough love. And I'm still working on trying to get to
And
that.
so maybe we can just put his end point at the end and we'll keep talking. But because
Because he gets up and leaves, and we'll just keep chatting.
because I love it. I said this in our meeting yesterday morning. I love it nothing more than when Brian or Lacey or Robert tell me I'm wrong and tell me why I'm wrong. Brian will tell me what I'm doing is bullshit quicker than anybody else I've ever worked with.
And I only do it because I love you and I care. And that if I'm a yes man, we don't solve anything, right? We get nowhere. We keep doing the same thing, making the same mistakes without a stopgap. And that's a losing organization.
Well, and you try to hire people like that too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I try to hire people that are straight up. I continually ask my salespeople for advice, like, bring items to me that we need to talk about. I need to know what's working, what's not. Please, I'm an open book. That's how we grow, right, man? It's that we do this together,
Right.
as an organization, and that no one guy knows it all, because nobody does.
And I think that's going to be the magic that makes Ternus something really special. We listen to the customer. We listen to our teammates. We are not egotistical in that we think we have the answers. We're on a constant search for the answers. And it's exciting, and it's fun, and it's scary, and it's rewarding, and it's all these things other than easy. But But
great.
that's it. I know you had no preparation for this
I
whatsoever.
had none.
You just landed, and I would like text you, like, "Oh, you're here, great. Come on up to the second floor."
I literally got in my room within 30 seconds. He's like, we're on the second floor doing a podcast. I'm like, dude, I just rolled off the plane.
So we're gonna get you a drink and some dinner.
Good looking out.
Thank you for doing this.
Thank
We
you.
good?
Yes, sir.
See you next week.